I'm Andrew Lansley. I'm a strategic counsel with Lowe Associates, and we are part of the team, the very happy team who work with DG Grow in supporting the European Clusters Collaboration Platform. I'm delighted to welcome everybody to this, the first Clusters Talk of 2024. This is our opportunity for us to, as the ancients used to do at the turn of the year, it's our opportunity to look back at the achievements of 2024, but perhaps even more importantly, to look forward to the opportunities that lie ahead in 2025 through the services and events of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. I know many of you will have been participants in those events and indeed in these clusters talks during the course of the last year. But some of you, perhaps many of you, are joining us for the first time and want to hear about those events and services. And I'm looking forward to understanding more about those opportunities that lie ahead. The importance of this from the European point of view can hardly be overstated. It is an opportunity to support growth. We know the importance of clusters in promoting supply chains, innovation and supply chain resilience. We know how important clusters have been in supporting industry in the green transition and the digital transition. We know how important innovation is in clusters to the promotion of small businesses, the opportunities for growth, and the increase in productivity. So in all of those ways, we want to discover during the course of this morning what has been a significant part of the ECCP, the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, in the last year. And let's take the opportunity just to recall some of that by looking at a video, a recap of 2024 before we go on to look at the agenda for today. Let's just have a little recap of 2024 in video highlights.
It's just a great platform and opportunity to meet the right people.
The place is cool, the people are cool. I think that's the best way of doing it.
When we meet the people, there is a different type of connection that even us in the technological field, we recommend.
Welcome to this, the latest EU Clusters talks on the future of European competitiveness and the role of clusters.
You are not here, you are not in Europe.
We did have the splendid opportunity to see all of those events during the course of the year. And as one of our participants said, this place is cool, the people are cool. And I think we can say that the European Cluster Collaboration Platform is cool. So let's just think about what our agenda is today. Can I remind everybody that we are recording this webinar? Can I invite you on several occasions during the course of our discussions this morning, we will be looking for your active participation. We are using Slido. Can you please use the QR code, which will come up in a few moments, in order to access the Slido questions to make your responses? Alternatively, through your browser, you can use the #ECCP recap 2024 in order to access the Slido by that route. If you want to ask questions or participate with additional materials and references for others to look at, do please use the Zoom Q&A function or indeed the chat function to comment and share links. If you would particularly wish to speak, please raise your hand and I will ask that you be given the floor. So let's just look again at the agenda. We're going to have a number of presentations about the cluster collaboration platform during the course of 2024, and indeed what we can look forward to during 2025. In order to start our presentations, it's a particular pleasure to introduce Mariella Marcel-Link, head of the unit at DG GROW of the European Commission. Mariella, please commence our discussion of the ECCP in the last year and the prospects ahead for tell us about the platform and what the events and services look like and how they are to be offered in 2025, please.
Yes, with great pleasure. Andrew, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you, Mariella. Yes.
Perfect. No, thanks so much. I mean, first of all, I hope it's not yet too late to wish you all a happy new year. Really great. Thanks for joining us here today at our first cluster talk of the year. And indeed, I think we want to use that as an opportunity with you to reflect and to talk about what we have achieved. I think we can be really proud of the last year, but also to take this as an opportunity to look forward. So we want to hear from you, what works well for you, maybe what doesn't, what are maybe new priorities that we want to set in the cluster community. As you know, we are ourselves really at I would say, a moment of very new impetus here in the Commission. We have since December a new college, and we have set the focus on prosperity and competitiveness. And for us in DG GROW, delivering on this promise basically means three essential elements where I think the clusters also play a crucial role. First of all, the first element is building a business case for decarbonization and the transition to new technologies. And we have important initiatives forthcoming in this area, the Clean Industrial Deal in February. And we believe also that clusters play a really important role in driving the transition on the ground, because you help your members adopt new technologies, you help them develop and scale up. The second element of this promise is helping to create a very smooth investment journey for companies, helping them de-risk their investments. And also there, we have already discussed the important role that clusters play in their regions and developing investment hotspots in Europe. The third element that is part of this promise is the element of building value chains throughout Europe and beyond, and strengthening our single market. And also there we have an important strategy forthcoming, the single market strategy coming by the summer this year. And of course, we know that clusters also play a crucial role there as bridge builders, as value chain builders, inter alia through our Euro Cluster project, as you know. Now, looking back over the past year, I think we can be extremely proud. You can be extremely proud of what this community has achieved. Maybe let me pick out a few special moments, many of you that I also managed to share with you, starting with the cluster conference in May, a major event bringing together, connecting clusters all about Europe, 700 participants with very interesting policy discussions, but also practical matchmakings and finding new partners. We are also, of course, as you know, constantly developing the activities on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, the ECCP, that helps us strengthen the cluster community through collaboration, bringing you together. In this respect, I would like to maybe highlight especially the cluster mid-regions meetings. You have seen a few shots in the video before. Italy, Austria, Belgium. For the first time, we have also organized a cluster mid-regions outside the EU in Moldova, which was also very successful. And I think it's always a great opportunity, on the one hand, to connect the cluster community with the national and regional policymakers, but also to showcase how clusters can really drive this regional economic development. 2024 was also a year of matchmakings. We had very successful international matchmaking events. I will not mention them all, but ranging from Canada, Singapore to India, but also matchmakings inside Europe, for example, in the context of the cluster conference and the cluster mid-regions. Altogether, a very, very impressive number of over 2,300 meetings with over 250 cooperation cases, which I think shows the success of these matchmakings. On top of that, you're well aware that we also have other products, other events, other networking moments. Maybe to mention a few, we have the C2 labs that brought together the cluster community to develop new project ideas. Last year in France, we had a very impressive event with 70 participants from 13 countries. We also have, as we do today, the cluster talks, which we see as the main hub to exchange information with you, so with the cluster community, and we really see it as a two-way street. So therefore also my plea to you, please engage actively in the discussions that we have in the talks, because we of course want to hear directly from you what is on the radar of the cluster community. We have had 2 successful cluster booster academies. You know, those are opportunities for cluster managers to train and develop further their skills and knowledge on cluster management. And of course, we want to hear from you also, you know, which of these events, what is particularly useful for you. Maybe there are specific areas where you would like to see more, or you have new ideas for us. And maybe also tell us what didn't work so well for you, what is less useful. So we really want to hear how you would set the priorities for 2025 and beyond, and where you could see the input of the cluster community as most useful. I will leave it at that, Andrew. I will hand over back to you, and I'm really curious and looking forward to the exchanges with you. Thanks so much.
Mariella, thank you so much. That's a fabulous overview of all of the opportunities that are ahead. Let's take the opportunity now to involve all of our participants. Let's go to the Slido. If that's it, perfect. There is the QR code. Do please use the QR code or the hash ECCP_recap 2024 to get into the Slido app. We've heard from Mariella about the events and services through the platform. Let's ask you, our members, which event or service of the ECCP have you used or been to and attended during 2024? So give you a second, all of our participants to join in. Oh, fantastic, look at that. We've got a number of people coming in now. So the percentages are going to be high while we have a small number of respondents. And as more respondents come in, we are going to learn more about the balance of participation. So we know that clusters talks, we can see that being clear. The clusters talks, as Mariella quite rightly said, is a key element of the hub for exchange. As you know, we're going to hear more about the clusters talks from Angela later on, but I know from participation in the clusters talks how valuable those are to those responsible for clusters. So there we are. So we can see it's coming through now. People are joining the Slido and giving us responses. Clusters meet talks. Clusters talks are the most used part of the platform, but we have a significant number of our participants who have been to the events, Clusters Meet Regions and Matchmaking Events. Those who have used Trend Universe, we'll hear more about that from Dr. Jan Philip Kramer later. The C2 Lab, we will hear more from Antonio during the course of our discussion this morning. And indeed, the Cluster Booster Academy, 2 such events, as Mariella said. So that will be very particular benefits for those who are responsible for the management and delivery of clusters. So that's very useful. Thank you very much. We are going to have more questions soon, but we're going to start now, please, to move into a series of presentations and responses from you, our participants, about the activities of the ECCP during 24 and the next steps and opportunities that lie ahead in 2025. And we start, please, by going to Teodora Yukova, part of the ECCP team, a very happy and busy and productive team working on the ECCP, the platform. Teodora, could you please tell us about the opportunities that were achieved in Clusters Meet Regions during 2024 and what lies ahead?
Thank you very much, Andrew, and good morning to all. It's a really great pleasure today on behalf of the ECCP team to talk about the Cluster Meet Regions event and lately for the Matchmaking Events. And I'll join Mariella of wishing everyone a very successful year ahead. So I hope 2025 would provide us with many, many opportunities for the clusters. So first we'll be starting with the Cluster Meet Regions, as you said. So they are really this part of those events. They are really bringing together the regional authorities and the clusters to have in an open discussion. Since we started in 2022, more than 18 workshops have been delivered, and we've been going to various countries and regions: Spain, Poland, Croatia, Finland, Sweden, France. I will not name all the countries that we've been to, but if we go on the next slide, we can see basically what we have done. Mariella already mentioned. So we had 4 events in 2024. We've been in Milan, in Italy for the first time, Charleroi, Graz, and Moldova. We have in Graz and in Chisinau in Moldova, the events also had a matchmaking part, a matchmaking element. Lately, I will be talking about the matchmaking events. I will again mention the importance and what the variety of the matchmaking events. So during 2024, we had more than 620 participants across these 4 events, and more than 44 pitching sessions. But I just will use here the opportunity. These are the figures for 2024. But in total, I would like to tell you that since we started in 2022, the Cluster Meet Regions workshops, we had more than 2,500 attendees and more than 200 pitches. We found that the pitching session, a great session, but I would be interested to hear later when we have the slide of question about the Cluster Meet Regions. But we found that the clusters and the local participants, they're really interested of having this opportunity to present what they're looking for, what they offer, and especially when there is a matchmaking part within the agenda of the Cluster Meet Regions. This is really helping a lot of putting the clusters in to talk between each other. So if we continue further with the presentation, just basically here I put a couple of notes about the impact which bring the Cluster Meet Regions, but just to say that it really helps the region to attract investment. It creates a platform for local actors to collaborate, to share best practices, and to align with on economic priorities. Also equips local actors with insights and tools to improve policies, government and projects implementation. So we've been talking what we have done so far, but it's also important to look what we have in front of us. So if we can move on the next slide. We are currently in many discussions about the calendar for 2025. You can see majority of the regions and the countries that we are currently discussing. So you see it's going to be a very extensive year. We will go back to Italy. We'll have for the first time Cluster Meet Regions in Slovenia. We'll go back again to Poland for the first time, and in Germany. We will go for the first time to Netherlands. We're talking, looking for possibilities with Estonia, with Greece. We have set up already event in Spain and in Portugal. So I will show you the save dates for the events that are with clear dates. If we can go on the next slide, so see you can save already the dates for the Eindhoven in Netherlands, 26th and 27th of March, as well as the Cluster Meet Regions in Palma, 14th and 15th of May. In the meantime, please continue looking at the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, the events page about the Cluster Meet Regions, because only during the next 2 weeks we will put more dates already during and locations during regions during the first 6 months. So we are well aware how important it is for you to make your plans, to see the objectives of each event, and to be able to think how your presence, your participation would be valuable for the clusters and your members. So with that, I'll stop here, Andrew.
Dora, thank you very much. Yes, stay with us because we're going to invite our all of our participants in the webinar this morning now to tell us something about their knowledge of and interest in clusters meets regions. So let's move to the Slido, the first of those Slido questions. And here we can see the question to which we would like your response, please, is what would you find most interesting in Clusters Meet Regions events? Is it the panel discussions, the keynote speeches, the workshops, the matchmaking sessions, or the guided tours and panel discussions? So we've got a range of activities at the Clusters Meets Regions events. As we know from the earlier Slido question, a proportion, perhaps about a third or so of our participants this morning have been at a Clusters Meets Regions event. So let's see how that comes forward. Clearly the matchmaking is getting significant response. Let's let that settle down, get everybody an opportunity to respond to that. This will be very helpful, Theodora, will it not, to you and the team in terms of what people want to see at their Clusters Meet Regions events. Looking forward to that in Eindhoven in Netherlands first, and then Palma in Spain. So those dates are coming forward. Keep in touch with the Clusters Talks and look at the platform to see where those Clusters Meet Regions events are going to be. Okay, that's really interesting. So we see matchmaking sessions and the workshops way up top there in terms of the benefits of visiting Clusters Meet Regions. We have another question for you now, please, before we move on with Theodora to tell us about the matchmaking events. Were there difficulties that prevented you from participating in Clusters Meet Regions? We know about a third of our participants this morning have been at a Clusters Meet Regions events. Others may want to have been there, but found that they were prevented from doing so. Was it a scheduling problem? Was it location? Was it that you weren't aware of the event? Were there other? And I think if the chat is operating well and you have a particular reasons, pop it in the chat. It'd be really helpful to the team to continue to see what the reasons why people weren't able to be at the Clusters Meet Regions events. So we're seeing in the chat there's some useful links, particularly we're seeing at the moment from our friends in Norway. So a scheduling conflict and location. There are others. Not so much the lack of awareness. I'm quite encouraged by that. I think the Clusters Talks and the opportunity to be in Clusters Talks and the forewarning that gives for the dates and locations of events is particularly helpful. I have one more question, please, just to ask what themes or topics you would like to see covered in future Clusters Meet Regions events. So this is, I think, an opportunity for you to write into your Slido what your view is, and let's see what points come forward from that. We have participants typing. The Slido is very useful, isn't it, at telling us what's going on. What would you like to see covered in future Clusters Meet Regions events? Are we talking about green transition opportunities? That's an interesting one because, of course, under the green transition, there's a range of circular economy style opportunities there, as well as decarbonisation activities and so on. I think that resilience and value chains are a really important part of how clusters are working. The clusters business model, that's a very interesting one to see coming up at Clusters Meet Regions, because of course one of the central aspects of the Clusters Meet Regions is learning from other clusters. So it's about strengthening the whole model of cluster activity. Some, of course, are technology driven, some are sector driven, some are supply and value chain dependent. So we've got some really interesting responses here. So green and digital competencies, future calls, of course, that's particularly the funding opportunities that we hear on Clusters Talks, and also we learn about at Clusters Meet Regions events. And sometimes, of course, it's very particular, as somebody is rightly saying, particular to where the CMR events are taking place. Quite often that can bring a very specific set of sectoral specializations to bear. Okay, we've got a range of topics coming through, still a couple of additional responses coming through there. Digital health is mentioned, national cluster policies. We know that the platform creates a real opportunity for the cluster policies in different places to be in a compare, contrast and learn opportunity, and the events can do that too. Okay, Theodora, let me come back to you. You've had a chance to see some of those responses to those questions. Do please, I know you'll take all of those responses away, and that will form part of the development of the Clusters Meet Regions events during the course of 2025. But would you like to tell us also about EU matchmaking events?
Yes, thank you very much. And I thank to all that have provided their input in the Slido. It really helps a lot, especially with the thematic areas, because as I previously said, currently we are discussing with most of the regions that they are already planning their events. We are discussing what further we can add. So we will take this as a homework and see how we can implement it in the best possible way. And I also wanted to comment, I've seen that most of the interest was the matchmaking part as well as the workshops. So by starting explaining about the matchmaking events, I will say that the Cluster Meet Regions event in Eindhoven, which will be in the end of March, will have both a matchmaking element as well as workshops, and we will be ready with the draft program to be online mid next week, as well as the registration will open. So there will be topics as AI and robotics. So I really take this opportunity to welcome you to consider this event. So I'm starting with the presentation. What's the purpose and the context of the matchmaking events? They're really here to enhance the collaboration and real-time networking and knowledge exchange, development of the joint action plans. I mean, you've seen, and we have many videos from the previous matchmaking events there on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. You can see the testimonials in the recap video, despite of there was no sound, but this is accessible on the ECCP, so this could be seen. But the collaboration opportunities and the knowledge that clusters can get, especially when they're traveling outside Europe for those events, it's huge. So let's see what we have done through 2024. If we can go on the next slide. So we had 5 international matchmaking events. We have 2 matchmaking events as part of the Cluster Meet Regions, and the matchmaking event as part of the European Cluster Conference in 2024. Mariella already mentioned about it. So altogether, we had more than 524 participants. 86 participants were part of the international matchmaking events, and we had, I mean, the number of the meetings that you see, 2,356 meetings. This is the formal and informal meetings that have been recorded after the events. And so far, though we are currently still processing some of the surveys after the events, we see the number of more than 250 cooperation cases identified. So I very briefly will go slide by slide just to see about the international matchmaking events. You mentioned earlier that I've seen that during the first slide of question that some have been part of the events. So last year we had the EU-Taiwan matchmaking event, which we took part in Berlin. We have some incoming and outgoing when we speak about the international matchmaking events. So the outgoing events are when we visit this country, like the Taiwan, and we had such an event in 2023. And last year we had an event in Germany that was joint collaboration with our Taiwanese partners. So there were 64 bilateral meetings. This is only those, not without counting the informal meetings. So again, on the next slide, you will see the EU South Med matchmaking event that took part in Frankfurt. Again, in Germany. Again, in 2023, we had an outgoing event when the European delegation went to were going out, traveling outside Europe. And last year, this was an opportunity, the South Med delegation to be in Europe and discuss the collaborative opportunities. It is always the matchmaking event, our international matchmaking events are anchored to fair or exhibition, because this is how we expand the opportunities throughout the course of the 3 days, and we enrich the program. So the South Med event was as part in the framework of the AHEMA Expo in Frankfurt, and you see the number of bilateral meetings that have been delivered. So then we had, on the next slide, you will see the event that we had in Canada, the EU-Canada matchmaking event as part of the all-in event. I think the last one event with the Canadian international matchmaking event with Canada was done just before the pandemic in 2019. So this was a great chance. So we had a very strong delegation, a very rich content at the all-in event, and you see the number of bilateral meetings that have been held. Again, last year on the next slide, you will see we had an event in Singapore. It's from a few consecutive years. We had this event in Singapore, huge interest. Again, very big delegation we had this year was in the frame of the Singapore International Energy Week. And we concluded the 107 bilateral meetings. But as you've seen on the slides where I've presented the total meetings, there were many, many meetings that were informal meetings. And last but not least, we finished the year with the EU-India matchmaking event. This is the first matchmaking event with India. And it was in the frame of the Bengaluru Tech Summit. Great meetings, great collaboration. And there were many opportunities for the EU delegates also, not also to meet with their counterparts, but also to present their organizations at the stage of the Bangalore Tech Summit, which really made a huge interest, and there were many, many meetings after that. So this is what we have done during last year. And now I just want to inform that at the moment we are currently discussing with all the partners the plans for the matchmaking events for 2025. As I said, some of the matchmaking events that will be part of cluster meet regions, they are already in their preparation. As I started with Eindhoven, till the end of this week, but I think it's already confirmed. Will be confirmed that would be a matchmaking part in Palma, in cluster meet regions in Palma. So they are already in the first start of the year. We have matchmaking events in Europe. For the international events, we are evaluating the proposals, the affairs at the moment with our partners, as well as what is very important is we are evaluating the feedback, the results from the past events. Therefore, again, would like to stress how important is important for us for the European Cluster Collaboration Platform team, as well as the DG Grow, on taking a decision where to be the next international matchmaking event, is to have your detailed responses on the results from those events, on the identified cooperation cases, in order for us to make this planning. So I really ask for those that have missed, especially, to give their feedback on the events for SouthMed, follow-up reports, follow-up surveys on the SouthMed events that have took part last year, as well as Taiwan. Please do so, because this will help us during the next month to take a decision about the importance of continuing having those events. So saying that, Andrew, I'm leaving back to you for.
Theodora, thank you very much indeed. Now stay with us, because it's precisely the point you're rightly making, is getting a bit of some of the feedback about what it is that is going to be most useful in terms of the international collaborations, bringing partners from around the world here to Europe, but also taking Europe out to some of these really fascinating potential events and matchmaking opportunities in other parts of the world. So we've got three questions, please, which we'd be really grateful, Theodora, stay with us and help us to talk through some of these questions. The first of which is, which non-European Union country or market are you most interested in exploring for international collaboration or expanding your cluster activities in 2025? So many colleagues on the call, if you are thinking about how your cluster might have an opportunity to have a matchmaking event or a connection with another non-EU country, which of those would be most important to you? We can see in the chat reference to South Korea coming up. We've got a reference to the Gulf countries. A number of people very interested in the opportunities in the United States. I don't think, Theodora, has there been an EU matchmaking event in the United States in any recent time?
No, not during the last 3 years, not yet.
Right. So we see a reference to Japan, Africa, in the United Kingdom, Mexico, interesting, yes. The India and Singapore have been really, I mean, you referenced those, they were really successful events, weren't they? There was significant number of, you were saying, over 100 bilateral meetings at each of those. So creating quite a lot of important opportunities. So we can see through this question, 6 responses on the US, 3 on Gulf, references to South America. Of course, there are additional trade opportunities potentially in South America. Okay, that's very interesting. I know all of the colleagues will be really interested. It promotes real thinking about where these events can take place. If I may move us on to a further question, which would be, what are the main challenges that your cluster and organization faces when expanding cluster activities outside the EU? I should say, Theodora, just to remind everybody, when through the platform, the clusters are registered to the platform, but that creates an opportunity for many of their member companies themselves to be participants in many of these events, doesn't it? And it isn't always the cluster organization itself which participates in the events. Very often it's the companies in the clusters that take part in these events. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. I mean, within the call, especially for the international matchmaking events, because in Europe we don't have these requirements, but it is open for the clusters. I mean, obviously they're members, but also we accept the SMEs, which I believe those SMEs could be the cluster members. So we encourage really they to look and if they have questions during the once we launch the call for expression of interest, I mean, we can always support, give the details who could be part of the event and how we see it in the best possible way, the participation, so they can prepare.
In fact, these matchmaking events, particularly where they occur in other markets, are at least as important as some of the opportunities to go to trade fairs and the like as part of the trade activity. They, particularly perhaps for small businesses, they create a real opportunity to create a relationship in those markets. So the challenges we see here, obviously there is a challenge of financing this. There is a need to acquire market knowledge, but effectively some of these challenges are precisely the reasons why people benefit from the matchmaking events. We have a further question. Let's ask you once more, please, through your Slido to be responding. What type of partnerships are you most interested in forming during these cluster collaboration platform matchmaking events that Theodora has been telling us about? Is it R&D? Is it market access? Is it knowledge sharing? Is it joint ventures? Indeed, of course, as ever, if there are others that we haven't mentioned in the options here, put them up on the chat and the team will be very pleased to know if you have additional partnership opportunities that you would be looking for through these matchmaking events. So Theodora, thank you very much indeed. So you can see knowledge sharing, yes. Market access, yes. R&D collaboration, yes. Joint ventures also. So, and we can see the relative responses for those. Grand. Thank you very much indeed, Theodora, for telling us about cluster speech regions and EU matchmaking events. We have to move forward and hear about the past year and the year ahead for EU clusters talks. Angela Negretti Benedi, team member of ECCP, take us through clusters talks, please.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here back in 2025. Happy New Year to all of you. First of all, as Theodora has said, the video, sorry for not having the sound. Thank you all for reaching out. We are going to share the link, which is already on the ECCP platform, but we will share the link and the video so that you can hear it too. As you already know, cluster talks are the best opportunity to engage, to learn, to connect within the clusters community and be part of the European Union, whether you're looking for networking or learning or sharing your experiences. This is our one-stop solution in the ECCP platform. You can access to previous cluster talks on the link that we are providing in the chat and also in the presentation that, as always, is going to be uploaded on the website. Last year, 2024, we had more than 2,877 registrations. 1,755 broadcasted minutes, 1,554 unique attendees, and over 120 speakers for all our 25 cluster talks, which are our bi-weekly meeting point online. We are also encouraging you to explore and subscribe to the ECCP YouTube channel. You can also find all the recorded cluster talks. Last year, we had more than 4,296 views on an average of 172 views per cluster talk. We have a lot of different countries. This past year, we had 43 from Spain, but we had also from Germany, attendees from Germany, Belgium, Italy, France, Ukraine, and of course, other countries. And for the news, for the next cluster talks, we leave you here also the links to register to the next one, which be a new collaboration opportunities in the Republic of Korea and Japan, countries mentioned in the survey, by the way, in the Slido question. The 29th January and the 12th February, we will have the opportunity to explore the role of collaboration between technology centers and clusters. Other topics and dates will be sustainability and critical technologies in February, clean industrial deal and transition pathway platform in March. Stay tuned, and we will provide all the information online as always, as well as the link so that you can register. That will be all for Cluster Talks. I think we can go.
Yeah, Angela, thank you very much. We've got a couple of questions. Let's quickly, we're getting right into the Slido polling opportunities again. What type of content would you find most useful? Here, we've set out a number of options. Can you put no more than 2 out of those choices, please? So funding opportunities, case studies, policy updates, networking, news from the European Commission and updates, news of European collaborations. So if you'd be very kind in the next few moments just to give us a sense of which of those 1 or 2 are the most important for you in terms of the content of the clusters talks. So funding opportunities, very up there. Just make sure today we reach our funding opportunities, Angela, later on.
Sure.
Case studies, yes. I mean, certainly in the talks I've been listening to, the importance of case studies, it really brings home some of the detail. Grand. Thank you very much. I know we're moving rapidly on to other questions. We've got one more. Could you, in the next question, share your suggestions for topic ideas? Now, please put them up now if you can on this Slido. Tell us what your topic ideas for 2025 would be that would be most important to you. Do please feel free, if we miss the immediate moment on this Slido, put ideas up in the chat. Put in the chat topic ideas for 2025. Just say which topic would be of importance for you. So we have a small number of suggestions. People are typing just at the moment. Technology issues, yeah, the green transition, very important. Digital transition, we're going to have. Yes, I know from the the ESG reporting, an important opportunity to learn about some of the new arrangements from ESG reporting, getting that right. We've got a bit of a word cloud building up now in terms of some of the topics that could be part of the discussion. Clearly in the energy and green transition field, things like net zero and hydrogen, really important. Grand. I won't delay, but I would encourage you, please, just to put something into this Slido word cloud that will be really helpful for our colleagues in the team to think about some of the topics during the course of 2025. And if you miss this opportunity and think about it, put something up in the chat. But let us move on, because we have an opportunity now to hear from Antonio Novo about C2 Lab. Tell us, Antonio, please tell us more about C2 Lab.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Andrew, for the introduction. Okay, we can see that there is high interest in AI, and that's precisely the focus of the next C2 Lab. But before speaking about that, what is C2 Lab? It's a new concept. We launched it, I will say, relatively new 3 years ago, and the idea is to help clusters and companies and institutions to build the best possible proposals for projects, best possible definition of project ideas in order to compete at funding opportunities or to convince private or public investors. So what we are doing is mentoring those project ideas with the support of best experts in the field during not only during the 1 day and a half that is dedicated to the physical event, but also before and after the event. We have enabled a B2Match platform to facilitate the exchange, preparatory exchanges between the attendants just from the moment that they are registered in the platform and even after the event itself. So what we are doing is supporting you in the definition of those events. The last one was celebrated in Strasbourg past September, and I would say it was, in my opinion, a big success on attendance and topics covered. And as you can see, the evaluation of the participants were very high. We have, I would say, a good number of people that even is repeating in attending the different C2 labs, and that's good. The next one will be celebrated in Zaragoza, here in Spain, on March 19 and 20 of March. As you can see, the main focus for it is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence dedicated to solve different priority challenges that we are facing at the European level. So it's a great opportunity to connect with other clusters and institutions that are working on preparing proposals for those topics. You know that the European Commission has increased, I would say, more than duplicate the budget for those projects during this year. There are coming a lot of funding opportunities on Horizon Europe and Digital Europe and other areas of funding for increasing our capacity on artificial intelligence. Clusters are a main facilitator for our cluster members, but we need to understand what can we do, and we need to offer them the opportunity to engage on those funding opportunities. So I will encourage you to participate. I will encourage you to explore the possibility to share your project ideas or engage with project ideas coming from other attendants during this event in Zaragoza. The presentation of the info session will be just tomorrow, 9:30. You are on time to register to it, and in any case, you can always contact us if you have any doubt or question. But I think it's an excellent opportunity to work on this priority area. Next one will be.
Yeah.
Next one will be on Denmark in May. It will be focused probably mostly, I will say, on energy, because it's organizing collaboration with the energy cluster from Denmark. But as always, all the C2 labs are open for any interesting project idea. This needs to be also very clear. If you have a project idea not related to AI or not related to energy, you still can participate and propose it. And if you find other potential partners or participants interested in that idea, don't hesitate to do it. Okay, that's all from my side.
Antonio, thank you very much indeed. And I should have said, Antonio is not only part of the team for the platform, but president of the European Cluster Alliance. So thank you very much indeed for all of the wonderful work that you do through the European Cluster Alliance. We have a question to follow up. I mean, clearly the feedback on the C2 lab has been really excellent, isn't it? Clearly the participants really, their feedback is, yes, we want to join in again and so on. So, but what we would like to hear from you, and in the Slido poll, people are telling us now a bit more about the kind of activities that the workshops would interest them: project roadmaps, networking, cross-sector collaboration. Clearly, as you were saying, Antonio, things like AI technologies or the energy sector focus, these are really important potential focuses. Question is how to go about it at the workshops. We've got one more question very quickly about sharing suggestions. Can I just ask people, perhaps if you have an immediate suggestion now, or put up on the chat suggestions. I think really improving is maybe a debatable word, maybe to adding to the C2 labs. What further things could form part of the C2 lab activity, either in terms of the subjects and the focus of particular labs, the workshops, or indeed activities at them. But I think, if I may, I'm not going to stop with that. Ask people to put that up on the Slido or indeed through the chat. And Antonio, I know you and your colleagues will be very interested in what the responses are to those. Let's move on to Cluster Booster Academy. Hannah Kim, do tell us please about the, we know that a small number of our participants have already been in a Cluster Booster Academy, but tell us more about that and the opportunities that they can take from those.
Yes, thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. So maybe just on the concept first. So we created a kind of a hybrid training program, if you will, specifically geared towards cluster managers, but also staff on the management team. The idea is essentially to help cluster managers and the team to plan out how to tackle different challenges that you're running into when managing a cluster. That could range anywhere between how do you come up with new service ideas, how do you secure funding, how do you become more independent in your financial model, how do you review your business model as it is, but also all the way to how do you communicate, how do you find new members, or how do you position yourself as a cluster and just raise awareness to the things that you do. So therefore, we created the Cluster Booster Academy, which contains a theoretical part, which is normally in virtual setting, and then also including an hands-on practical in-person part with different hosts, where we actually get together and work on specific plans. We work on your business models. We really just draw out any ideas that we have. So the idea is really to give you both the theoretical and the practical part, and also guide you as you implement the changes that you worked on or that we worked on. In 2024, if we go to the next slide, we had 2 Cluster Booster Academies out of a total of 4 so far. So one of the hosts was Sofia in Bulgaria. They were kind enough to host us and also show us around. We were able to look at other stakeholders. We were able to talk to them. We learned a lot as well. And then we also started the virtual days in November last year, which also means we are left with the in-person days, which will take place in March this year in Warsaw. The University of Warsaw was, again, kind enough to host us. So we will get together and really work in a workshop setting. We will be drawing out plans. We will brainstorm. So there's really no, let's say, no strict program. While we give you guidance and we try to work with everyone on an individual basis, along with coachings as well. So we really guide you through different stages. And as you know, many of you are working in either even solo as a cluster manager, or you have a very small team. So these in-person days are really a good opportunity to meet others, meet other cluster managers, see what they're doing, see what they're struggling with. And we also like the setting because it really helps to make you feel less alone, if you will, because you are usually working in a kind of silo. So in these workshop settings, you are really able to exchange the problems that you run into, any ideas that you would want to pitch to others, to like-minded people, but also to see the range of different experiences in the clusters. So we have lots of cluster managers who just started out with the cluster, but we also have veterans who have been there for like 20 years. And we see that there's still a lot of overlap, independently of your experience, your maturity level, even the size of your cluster. So we have really a wide range of industries, of experience, of maturity, geographical spread, of course, as well. And it's really interesting to see how different everyone is, but then also how many similarities you have. So last year, we welcomed 78 participants, again, from all over Europe. We're very proud that we were in every CBA. Really, we have lots of coverage in the different European countries. And again, in March, we will be in Warsaw. We will kind of tackle the in-person days there, and then afterwards we'll see where it takes us. But yeah, we are really enjoying working with you so closely and hearing the voices and hearing what you're working on, what you want to work on, and how we can support you throughout your journey as a cluster. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really helpful. Thank you for that explanation about the Clusters Booster Academy. And I'm sure actually that question about creating financial sustainability for clusters and the work that you did in the workshop there will be really important. Let's ask about what it is that all of our colleagues would like to see in the Cluster Booster Academy. And the Slido question here in networking, improving cluster strategy, the service portfolio through clusters, and learning about financial growth, some of those. Can I just remind everybody, do please put into the chat additional ideas. If you have feedback and ideas about how the Cluster Booster Academy could be of value, do please put that there. I know Hannah and her colleagues will be picking up on all of that. So that's asking that question. Also, the reasons why people would join the next Cluster Booster Academy. I think we saw a number of comments and responses on that. Let's, Hannah, I know time is against us, so we have to move rapidly on, but thank you very much indeed. I'm sure in the chat, if you'd be kind enough to have a look, there are some questions about the opportunities to access the Cluster Booster Academy and potentially whether there is financial support for clusters in accessing those. Perhaps you'd be kind enough to respond on the chat to those. Thank you. Let's turn Vera Veshna on green transition support. Tell us about green transition support through the platform, please.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very happy to have the opportunity today to also say a few words on green transition support. I would like to start with giving you a brief overview on what green transition support is, for those of you who haven't heard of it, and then tell you a bit more what we have been doing in the last few months. So green transition support is a knowledge hub. You can find it on the ECCP website, so it's part of ECCP. We cover key topics such as energy efficiency, resource efficiency, or emission reduction, for example. And with these services, we do not necessarily target businesses directly, but we are more targeting cluster organizations, cluster managers, and those who support the green transition in the regions. And what can you find in this section? We have some tools, we have news, we also have good practices. And now coming to the activities that we have been doing in 2024. So our main activities, we're adding 2 new knowledge items to the website. So those are now available on the website. The first one is a step-by-step guide on what clusters can do to facilitate the green transition. So we have various steps in this PDF. The first step, for example, goes into the importance of identifying the needs and challenges of your cluster and cluster members. Another step is about integrating sustainability into your cluster strategy and the importance of keeping an open dialogue with your members, or the benefits of collaborating with other clusters. Besides those steps, you can also find good practices in this document. You can find them in the green hexagons. I think you can see it here on the slide. And if if you want to know more about the good practices, there's also a link where you can click and then you can read more about it. This already brings me to the second activity, which is a good practice collection. So if you click on the link in the PDF I just presented, it will take you to this collection. But of course, you can also exit it directly via the website. So what is this good practice collection? It's showcasing activities that clusters have implemented to support their members in advancing sustainability. And I can't show you all of the examples, but I invite you to go to this section and read them for yourself, just to give you a brief impression on what you can find. We have an example on focus groups that enhance knowledge exchange and collaboration. We have a Another activity that a class implemented, which is innovation challenges and how it stimulated innovative business solutions. And the last example I want to mention here is a cluster that implemented a sustainability desk. It's a service that assists businesses on creating their own sustainability strategy. So we came up with this good practices by interviewing cluster managers. We had several conversations. So if you have any good practices or activities that you would like to share, please do reach out. You can also put them in the chat now. We are more than happy to add more examples to this good practice collection. And now already coming to 2025. So what is planned for this section? We want to put more knowledge items to this to the green transition support section. So we will develop further items based on clusters' needs. So there will be again a Slido question for you. So if you have any needs or topics that you're very much interested in, please do write it in the Slido or use the chat for this. Yes, so here's the Slido already. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So just talk us through. So a couple of questions then to ask people to put up in the chat or in response to this Slido question about what areas or topics under the green transition would they be most interested in. Let's have an opportunity to respond on that. And I think do encourage people to use the chat function as well. I know from, you can see on the chat function, there's a very important dialogue about some of the opportunities there that are coming up on the chat. Yeah, the circular economy, I think we were talking about that earlier, some of those circular economy opportunities, the ability to reuse, recycle, re-engineering, all very interesting opportunities. Can I just bring up the next question, please, if I may, so we can ask people about the question of what types of support would be most valuable for you in the green transition over the next few months, the support levels that the platform is giving you. So opportunities, overview of important EU initiatives, like the Circular Economy Action Plan, the critical raw materials, the Green Industrial Deal, and so on. Funding opportunities again, and what are the opportunities there? Good practice and exchange with cluster organizations. Yeah, there's a very good positive response on the funding opportunities and the overview of EU initiatives. The platform is really a fabulous way of learning about the green transition initiatives, isn't it, Vera? You've set that out very well. Very good, thank you. May we move to, last but not least, Dr. Jan-Philipp Kramer. Do please tell us about the very important opportunities for people to hear through the trend universe about future, I suppose it is about the future, isn't it? Do please, Jan-Philipp, tell us about the trend universe.
Yes, thank you, Andrew, and thank you everybody who's still here after I think a very insightful journey through the ECCP. And now, of course, it's a bit difficult with the last item today, but maybe to wake us up on some of the discussion points in the last year. If you remember the Draghi report, for instance, and amongst others, we are living in a world which is very competitive. And in particular, when it comes to innovation competition, we are in a complex and challenging environment. We also know that clusters are key drivers, potentially key drivers, of helping their companies, their members, to be more innovative. That's clear from our data. And in order to do that even better in the future, foresight and a very good and data-driven trend analysis is key from our understanding. And therefore, the ECCP put up the Trend Universe in 2023 as a tool for all cluster members, but also in particular cluster organizations and cluster management to gain a deeper understanding into key future trends. We believe that this will help to build strategic competitive advantage. We understand that that should lead to a better understanding of future trends. And in order to also link it into the industrial policy making on the European level, it's organized currently into 14 different industrial ecosystems, which have been laid out in the industrial strategy of the Commission. Just a few insights on things that have been happening. So we are very happy to see that the user number has been increasing quite significantly. So there are right now around 250 users on the trend radar. And we have been constantly working to also update and keep pace with the technological developments in the trend universe. So when we started, we had the main functionality around making available to you 14 different trend radars. This is still there. But what we have added in the past a few months was more on innovation trends and innovation articles that you can utilize. And this collection is growing daily, and it currently has around 11,000 innovation articles that you can access, that you can also create individual collections to utilize this for your members and yourself. And if you remember what Mariella Masseling said in the very beginning, she said the adoption of new technologies in fields like decarbonization and similar will be increasingly important to make a business case for the Green Deal. And this can be stimulated and supported through the innovation collections here. Before I forget to say, this is very important, that's why we put it on the first slide, the Trend Universe is open to ECCP registered cluster organizations and cluster members. It's free of use and it's very sophisticated. And normally this is a service you could commercially access for not little money, I would say. If we move to the second slide that I prepared for you today, I just wanted to run you quickly through the main functionalities of the Trend Radar. What the Trend Radar is supposed to do is to help you assess the relevance of key innovation trends in your cluster area. And it could be linked to the industrial ecosystems, but I also already articulated that you can start now to prepare more tailored innovation collections that then may also be more specialized for your domain. This is innovation data driven. So we have key resources to assess the different innovation trends. For instance, here, industry data in the field of aeronautics and space, using publication data, patent data, investment data, news data. So we have a real benchmark to look at. Then it's your turn, basically, to make an evaluation. Where do you stand in a specific field? So if you're looking into artificial intelligence and specifically artificial co-workers or robots, what is your position of your cluster membership, for instance, and how is it comparing to the benchmark? So it helps you also to position yourself. And last but not least, also to assess your competencies in order to also identify areas of strength, but maybe also areas where you need to work on and catch up. And all that should lead to different use cases. And this is what I wanted to summarize on my last slide, also mindful of time. The Trend Universe is helpful for different cases. If we move to the next slide, please, I can show that more specifically. So the Trend Universe could also be open for policymakers or policy agencies. So they can utilize it in order to get some strategic guidance for innovation programs, for instance. And we know from Tirol, from Austria, for instance, that the agency there, the innovation agency, uses the Trend Universe quite actively to get this strategic guidance on the key priorities. Here among cluster managers, it's one way to provide market intelligence to your membership, to your cluster members, and I think that's quite useful. But you can also use it for collaborative foresight activities and scenario analysis with your members in a workshop or to develop your strategic agenda, as I said in the beginning. And last but not least, for the individual cluster members that you can invite to utilize it if they are registered on the ECCP, they can track innovation trends, they can make readiness assessments and similar. So foresight is not about predicting the future, it's about minimizing surprise. And I think this is a very useful tool to minimize surprises in the future and advance in the competitive environment we're living in. Watch the cluster talk from last year with more details, because I had to be short. And we're looking forward also to get your insights in our 2 Slido questions. Thank you.
Yeah, Philip, thank you so much. That was really an excellent overview of that. But there's an enormous amount of rich material there, isn't there? It's a fantastic opportunity. So you were talking about the use cases and how those can be of benefit. The last Slido poll before we conclude is asking what people are looking to see through the Trend Universe, what opportunities this gives them: market intelligence, tracking innovation, collaborative foresight, not so much predicting the future as minimizing surprise. I thought that's a terrific way of expressing it. Thank you very much for that. Guidance for innovation programs, I think, really useful as well. Thank you. I know you and your colleagues will be really looking through this and the chat for how people want to use the Trend Universe in the future. There's clearly tremendous richness of material there for the clusters and for their members. Can we conclude, please, by thanking all of our speakers and move to the funding opportunities? We know how important that is for everybody. Angela, do you have a few moments, please, to tell us about the funding opportunities that are available?
Sure, Andrew. As we have seen, it's a very interesting topic for the audience. We are presenting firstly these market uptake measures of renewable energy systems. Deadline is 4th February, and the call is focusing on the uptake, integration, and societal acceptance of renewable energy systems. This is under the topic Horizon, and you can find, as always, the information on the EU funding and tenders portal. We're presenting also this other opportunity to support SMEs developing circular economy and sustainable solutions for the agri-food sector in this time in the Euro region, Pyrenees, Mediterranean. Deadline would be 19 February, and the call supports SMEs developing innovative market-ready solutions in the agri-food sector. We are having also this other call. Deadline is larger, 24 April. This year, Innovation Fund 2024, Net Zero Technologies, also very mentioned during the cluster talk. In general, decarbonization, medium-scale projects. The call supports of innovative projects advancing decarbonization and achieving climate neutrality in line with EU directives. And of course, we have to speak about the joint air clusters for Europe recovery. Deadline is 5 February, budget is 42 million, and we have 2 strands. First one focusing on net zero technologies and critical raw materials. Second strand for other topics not covered under strand 1. There are still 2 open opportunities for SMEs for the past Eurocluster call, Friends, ECCP, and Engineers, and you can find all the calls on the ECCP platform. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Angela. And do please use the platform to look for the further detail of those funding opportunities. And do please look at the chat. A number of our colleagues have put some really useful material there. There are more clusters talks now planned. Do please register now for the forthcoming clusters talks. Collaboration opportunities in the Republic of Korea and Japan on the 29th of January. The role of collaboration between technology centres and clusters on the 12th of February. It has been a privilege and a pleasure to hear from all the team members of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform and from our colleagues at DG Grow about the opportunities and the exciting events and talks that are going to be available in 2025. Do please join us again for those talks. Do please join us for those events. Do please use the platform, continue the discussion on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, join the general discussion, as well as take the opportunity through the platform to access those fantastic events and materials. Thank you all for being with us today. We've raced through some enormous amount of material. you know, please, through the platform, you can access more details on so many of these exciting potential events and opportunities during 2025. We wish you a very successful 2025. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you to all of our excellent speakers, and have a very good day.